Hi. Maybe you're like me and it's getting crazy out here. Maybe you are experiencing some very good things in your life in the midst of experiencing some very difficult things at the same time. And it feels like there is a bit of a roller coaster. You just don't know what you're going to get. You don't know if you're going to go have a really good day or if you're going to have an absolute awful day when you go and interact with other people. Because that's where I'm at. That's where I'm feeling. So my desire is that when I feel this way, when I'm going through these types of wacko moments, that I turn to wisdom, that I turn to truth. I'm not good at it. I'm not perfect, but I know where I should be going, right? And so I'm trying to get myself to this place where that is the only place that I turn, but that's really difficult, okay? Especially in our world of distractions, where it's very easy to pick this thing up and distract ourselves instead of tuning into truth and wisdom so that we do become okay with ourselves, deal with the situation so that we actually release the situation from our pain body, from our emotional status, and so that we can handle what's coming next, right? And so whatever, I sit down, I'm distraught, I'm upset, ruminating. What am I gonna do? What about this thing? What happens if they call those people and then these people? And oh my God, this is just, spiraling. I'm just wacko spiraling this morning. And Sophia, the voice of wisdom, steps in and says, "Hey, sweetie, are you okay?" Of course, in my emotion and my terror, I respond, "What is happening? Everything feels like it's falling apart." But no, everything is finally coming together in so many ways. Sometimes I just wish I could rip my heart out. And then she interrupts me, right? It's always masterful how she does this. And she says, "I know, baby. Do you know what you are doing now?" And I'm just like, "No," right? Because I'm in my little tantrum. And she says to me, growing pains much?" And I'm kind of taken aback by it at first. And I go, it doesn't mean that I'm broken or dying or something's wrong. And she says, "It shows you're stretching it the right way, right? If you only move and stretch in the comfortable positions, you wouldn't even stretch. And yes, your heart hurts for something seemingly for no reason. You are grieving the loss of your comfort. These are going to be some very uncomfortable times, years ahead. I am trying to build an okayness with the discomfort. Yeah. To see that you can take the hits." And then I get this picture in my mind, and it's this blue, and whether or not it was a toy that I had as a kid, I don't know, but it was this blue inflatable bopper thing. And of course, I couldn't remember the name of it. So in the moment, I'm like, what is that thing called? What is it called? And I go and Google it, and this is really fascinating to me. I'm blown away by the way that Spirit speaks into my life, and I'm constantly humbled and amazed. Like, I can't create these moments. I can't create these situations. I am not that smart. And somehow Spirit leads me to these things that they literally baffle me. I'm humbled before God constantly in these moments. And so I go and I search for this toy, right? It would pop back up with this ridiculous smile on its face. And even, it even reminds me also of those carnival games where you throw a sandbag or something at them, and you swear you hit them, right? You swear you hit them, but they just pop right back up. Like, it doesn't even faze them. It doesn't even, like, they still pop it up with that crazy smile on their face, right? So I read it into my phone, and I'm like, what the heck is this thing called? And the AI, whatever thing, pulls up that it's called a bozo bag bopper. And in the moment, I'm like, what? First of all, that's not the name that I was thinking, but okay, fine. Like, yes, all right, fine. And I write it down, bozo bag bopper. And as I'm writing it down, Sophia speaks to me and she says, now you tell me, is that not beautiful? Will you be my bozo? And I get how that sounds, right? I get that sounds ridiculous. That sounds like God's asking me to be an idiot, or wisdom wants me to be foolish. That doesn't make any sense, right? But a long time ago, about like 15, 16, maybe even 17 years ago, I lose track. I turned my life around. I was going a bad way. I was going down some really, really scary paths. And I was getting my life together and laying my life in God's hands. And my yearning at that time, and hopefully still to this day, was to be a fool for God, to be God's fool. And I get how ridiculous that sounds. But I was so desirous to be in the palm of God's hand, to be moved in a way that might look foolish to others, because you're so tuned in to what Spirit is trying to do, not just within you, but through you and to the world. And sometimes it might look even foolish to you. But the idea that Sophia would bring that back around to me, that all these crazy situations, all these ridiculous moments that seem like I'm constantly made out to be the bad guy, because I'm standing up for truth and wisdom in a very wacko and crazy world. And it is really hard to not take that personal, and to not think that there's something wrong intrinsically, right, within me, that there is something so deeply wrong within me that there's nothing else that can fix it. But that's not true. I carry the drops of light of Sophia. That no, I am not God. Let us just be clear. I do not think that in any way, shape, or form, and I don't recommend people to take on that concept either. I don't really know that it's great for the psyche. But I do know that what I have within me is God willing and acting within me and through me according to his good purpose. And other people aren't going to understand that. Even people who claim to know God, even people who say that they have your best interest at heart, they may not agree with what the spirit of wisdom is telling you. And that's okay. And that's okay, right? At least now for me, because it's this further confirmation that I'm able to walk in something that I truly have wanted for whatever crazy reason, I don't even know. But that wisdom sees that's really my desire in every single one of these moments, on every single one of these interactions and confrontations that I get into. I can't even believe how many I seem to find myself in. And it's easy to take it personal and think that there's something wrong with you. But this world is very much broken. And the principalities and powers that we have to deal with are stronger than we realize, right? The archons do a good job at keeping things status quo, which is broken, right? The status quo is broken. So anyways, maybe that conversation prompts you. But if you're feeling foolish, if you're feeling like people are looking at you like you're crazy all the time, and you know that you're doing what the spirit of wisdom and truth has placed on your heart to do, I bless you. And I pray that you would take deep courage and strength from these words, and knowing that you are beloved by God because you're God's fool. Even though other people may call you foolish, you know who you belong to.